Wallace. Wallace finds top shelf back corner. Carlow is going to take the 4-1.
Welcome into the season preview for Carlow softball here on the Carlow Sports Network. Sean Meyers joined by the third-year head coach for the Celtics, Glenn Zinsmeister. How you doing?
Good, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm sure you're pretty excited to get back to playing games because it's been almost a year. So I'm sure the excitement is there for you and for the team. How do you kind of handle the approach of finally getting back out there?
The girls are obviously really excited and I think really anticipatory. We do one-on-one meetings with them between the fall and the spring semester, and to a T, every one of them, their number one goal was to play again. And we've kind of joked, we've kind of coined the phrase "one more game," and so they're really excited about that. And it's been a little bit difficult from a preparatory perspective, just because with the pandemic, you really can't do a whole heck of a lot. So we've done our stuff down here in our batting cage whenever we can. And we did what we could in the fall, although it wasn't too much. We just played ourselves, actually, because nobody else was really playing. So we were able to play ourselves out on the field a little bit. So it gave us an opportunity to at least get on the dirt, but we're looking forward to March 13th.
Your career working in a hospital, you've seen the impact of COVID firsthand. How much have you stressed the message of safety to your team?
We stress it all the time, actually. I'm really lucky. I mean, the greater majority of my roster are nursing students, so they have kind of an acumen for the whole idea of the safety around the pandemic. We really talked coming into the season about, being a family and being the group of 23, and that we needed to minimize the amount of time. Obviously, whenever you're in college, there's always the temptation to meet and see and visit and be with other people. And we really emphasized the fact that, really to preserve our season, we needed to stay as a group of 23. And in fact, early on, we had smaller groups than that. We were only meeting in groups of 8. Now that we're getting a little bit closer, we do come together a little bit more. But they've picked up on everything. They temp each other before practice. We record all those temps. We have a survey that we have to figure out every day. They're very, very cognizant of their symptoms, and if they have any symptoms, and they report that right away. And so we've had a very successful time with that, and I really attribute it to them and their dedication, and like I said, the fact that a lot of them are nursing students, I think has been very helpful.
Your team played in just 11 games last year, so a small sample size, but what takeaways did you have from that season?
Well, we have to hit to our potential is probably the most important thing. Florida's always a difficult place to really take really a lot from, other than we didn't hit well. Just because it's a lot of times the first time you're on the dirt, first time you're together as a team. You got the excitement, the fun of the warm weather and all that type of stuff. And then as kind of the pandemic was kicking off, I think that affected things as well, because we weren't quite sure. The question every day was, are we going home? Are we going home? And that, I think that probably played into it as well. I always look at the season kind of in bits and pieces. I always look at the fall as one season. Our workout time between the fall and when we go to the spring is the second season. The spring is our third season, and then our regular season is our season. So we try to build on each one of those things. Obviously going to be a little bit difficult because it's been literally almost a year since we've been on the field and had the opportunity against competition to see how we can function as a group.
And with most of last season lost, how did your players have to work on improving their game without getting those game reps?
Yeah, we had obviously conditioning workout stuff for them to do, and then really asked them to fall back to the stuff that they did with their travel teams. Obviously, they couldn't do it in groups together, but pitchers were doing wrist snaps with socks in their living room, tee work. If you couldn't do actual tee work or didn't have a tee, practicing your swing in front of a mirror so that you could go through those mechanics. We really try to focus on that a lot. And as we get closer to the season, then we try to add, for instance, tonight happens to be one of our live pitching nights where our pitchers throw live pitches to the batters inside the cage. And it gives us an opportunity to try to put all that together.
You had just one senior on the team last year in Ashley Hoke. She moved on, but the vast majority of your team is back. You still have to fill a little bit of a void, though. How do you look to do that?
I really think we actually had 4 captains, and one of our seniors actually graduated in December based on how her program fell. So she's not returning. But we have 3 really strong captains that have been here for 4 years. They've put the time in. They understand what it means to play in the conference. They understand those teams. So I'm hoping that leadership will help lead a vast group of young players. I mean, we have 6 freshmen this year, and we have 7 sophomores that are really kind of freshmen. So it's like having 13 freshmen on the team. And I think that those 3 captains can bring that together. And they all, Ashley, I think, had an impact on all 3 of those captains. The biggest loss from her is just, I'll say, her mojo. I mean, she was the queen of positivity, and she always had ways of looking at things. Even when we were down, she always had ways of finding what was good about even the down times. So I think those captains have picked up on that, and they'll carry that forward.
You speak of the captains and a lot of the sophomores that you called pseudo-freshmen. Who are some of the key returners that you'll be counting on this year?
Well, from the senior perspective, obviously Alyssa Fairman is going to probably, she'll carry the load as kind of our lead pitcher. Anna Osiecki is returning as a senior this year. She's recovering from an injury. She brings a lot of leadership back to the team, and she's working hard to get back to play on the field. Obviously, all 3 captains, Kara, Liv, and Alyssa, but Casey Wolford is a very strong senior as well. I look for them guys all to contribute and provide leadership. Then as you get down through the ranks, Morgan Pierce and Sierra Murray have looked like they're going to produce a lot. Morgan's a pitcher. Sierra is a middle infielder. And then our 13, 7 sophomores, 6 freshmen. There's probably 8 of those that are going to be big producers. The Lampy twins, Morgan Nedley, Alex Bupp, Hannah Gallagher, Sarah Mass, Alyssa Schofield, just to name a few of them. And they're going to see considerable amount of playing time.
And you listed a few of the freshmen in this group. There's 6 new players in the mix. What are your expectations as a whole for that class?
The thing that we preach along the way is that you have to be, it's kind of like the Mike Tomlin next man up mentality. And I think, this year more than ever, a roster of 23 is a big softball roster. But at the same time, with potential quarantines and pandemic issues, everybody has to be ready to play at any point in time. I basically have in my mind kind of a 1 and a 1A at every position. And I really feel pretty comfortable that I could probably put either one out there and we have a chance to be successful. Obviously, we're looking to put the 9 best on the field and the other on the team just to support that group.
Normally, you would be heading down south pretty soon, get in a dozen or so games when it's a lot warmer. That's not the case this year. You're going to stay in this region. So what adjustments does that require?
The first one is we're going to pray a lot for warm weather and no rain. We start our season on the 13th of March. Prior to that, we are getting some field time indoors at Green Tree. We are going to begin this week to do some self-scrimmages amongst ourselves. We'll see if there's an ability to do a scrimmage with another team indoors with the time that we have. It doesn't look very promising because a lot of people are really sticking in their conference. That makes that a little bit difficult. But it's the other advantage of the 23-girl roster is that we are able to scrimmage ourselves and really push each other along the way. The other thing is really the month of March is our non-conference schedule. We start our conference games on April 1st away down at Rio Grande. But prior to that, we play a very heavy, and it's almost, I believe it's exclusively a Division II schedule. We're playing places like Malone, Tiffin, Wayne is a school from Michigan. We're playing them down in West Virginia. Glenville State, Salem, some teams that we played in the past. But I'm really hoping that Division II expectation really kind of sets us in a good place so that whenever April 1st we end up down at Rio Grande, we're ready to go.
You talk about April 1st beginning the River States Conference. Well, the preseason poll has your team predicted to finish in 8th place. So what's your reaction to that?
Preseason polls are about as useful as monopoly money. So they are what they are. I mean, the coaches make their votes. And, this year was probably more difficult than any other time because none of us played each other last year. So our impression or thoughts about any team in the River States Conference is based on 2 years ago. Even from the aspect of what I'm expecting to see from those teams, we certainly know what programs are good year in and year out, but they're going to be completely different teams than they were 2 years ago.
And to that point, you say usually some teams are good year in and year out. What teams do you look at to maybe be top contenders?
So, Rio Grande's always up there. I mean, they usually get national ranking, and they've been to the regionals. IUS, national ranking, been to the regionals, won the conference several times. Point Park, always a rival because of being in the same hometown, and they are very successful, although we have been quite successful against them over the years, although last year not as much as years in the past. So probably those three teams. And once again, there's always tough teams. Midway is always a good team. West Virginia Tech, always a good team. Oakland City's a new team to our conference this year. We really don't have a lot of paper on them at all. So it'll be an interesting year. We're really looking forward to that. We're playing 6 games in 3 days, April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the road. And I think that will hopefully set the tone for what our conference is going to look like.
What are the best qualities of your assistant coaches on staff?
Dedication, probably number one. Coach Miller was here before me, and he's still here with me, and he's my glue and oil that keeps things rolling all the time with just some of the things that we do in the batting cage. Then I have 3 coaches now, 2 that were with me last year, and in addition this year, they've all had experience playing. Sarah and Allison both played here at Carlow. Allison played for me for a couple of years. They bring that connection to the girls that Larry and I obviously can't because we're not girls and we don't play college softball. And then we added Kim Burdett this year, who's new to our program here, but she has some coaching experience from Franciscan. She played at Mercyhurst East, I believe is what that program was called. And she brings a lot of knowledge around hitting, and we're real excited for that.
Final thing for you, what will be the biggest key to having a successful year?
I think a successful year is going to be really going to be to play games and to play the season. But if we're talking about wins and losses, I think hitting comes first and pitching and defense second. I feel confident that we're going to be a good hitting team. We're going to put points on the board. And I feel good about our pitching staff. I'm hoping Anna can come back and pitch. I expect Alyssa to carry a lot of the load. Morgan Pierce, one of our juniors, throwing really well. And then Claire Niglio, our freshman transfer in, is shown a lot of real promise here in the early going. So excited for all of those. Obviously there's the whole team top to bottom. And I think if we hit the ball and just play good defense, we're going to be fine.
Coach, thank you for doing this. We can't wait to see you out on the field once again. And we continue here on the season preview for softball here on the Carlow Sports Network. Sean Meyers now joined by a sophomore for the Celtics, Morgan Nedley. Thank you for doing this today.
You're welcome.
Morgan, you had 11 games last year during your freshman campaign. Obviously, the season was cut short, but what did you learn during that time?
So during that time, I definitely learned that we as a team communicate very well and we're very down to earth with each other. Like, we had great relationships with each other. And I think that's very important, especially in the collegiate setting, just because we all are stressed out about a lot of things, with school being our number one priority, especially on this team. And having those relationships and being able to lean on each other in the game and outside of the game both is very helpful.
I know it's still very early in your college career, but what are your best attributes as a player?
I think some of the best attributes that I bring to this team is I'm very hardworking. A lot of that comes from my high school years and how competitive my high school team was, and my sister is very competitive as well, so it was always kind of trying to outshine the star that she set. And so I'm very hardworking, and I also think that I communicate very well with others, whether it's on the field or off the field. So everyone kind of knows where my head's at with everything, and I think being open and honest with your teammates is very important.
On the roster, you're listed as both a shortstop and an outfielder. So what position do you consider more natural, and what do you think your role will be this season?
More natural, I've always heard from coaches that it's shortstop, but in my heart, I love playing outfield so much more. I know that I am a good shortstop just because of how I've performed, and other coaches have told me that, but I definitely feel more comfortable in the outfield. I like gunning girls out at the plate, and I like diving in the grass. I'm not a fan of diving in the dirt, but so I definitely think outfield is more comfortable for me, and I plan on playing there this season. I guess that's up to our coach, but I mean, I hope I'm there this season.
What goals have you set for this year?
For this year, definitely, first and foremost, we want to play. We want to get games in. As of right now, it's looking very hopeful, so that'll be beneficial. But I also hope that we win games and we are competitive within our conference, because I think we really have a chance with the talent, especially that's come up this year with the freshmen. And I just think that winning a few games, making it to nationals, and making it far there would be awesome.
We mentioned you were a sophomore, but you had an abbreviated freshman year, so we didn't get the chance to talk to you. What led to your decision to come to Carlow?
So coming to Carlow, I actually played on my travel team with our assistant coach Larry's daughter. And whenever I played travel ball, I didn't really focus too much on getting committed to college. I started late with the recruitment process. But whenever I did get started, I was looking and communicating with a few like D1 and D2 schools. But Larry always told me that they would love to have me at Carlow, and it was always like a fallback plan. And then whenever the time came around to commit, I really just wanted to do nursing. I knew I wanted to do nursing, and I wanted to make my academics my absolute priority. And I didn't want to lose out on my academics by going to a big school that I was going to be having 2-a-day practices and things like that. So I really fell back on Carlow. It's close to home. It's very personal. It's small. I never thought I'd end up in the city, but here I am, and I'm very happy that I made this decision.
You mentioned it's close to home. You grew up in the Penn Trafford School District, Harrison City, and a lot of your teammates are also from the Pittsburgh area. So did you know any of them either as opponents or teammates before you joined the Celtics?
Absolutely. Alyssa Fairman is a senior on the team, and she actually played with my sister. A lot of the girls on the team played for this organization from Pittsburgh called Spirit, and that's the organization that my sister played for. I have played Alex, Hannah, and Cabry countless times in games. The McKenna and Madison Lampy, we just refer to them as the twins, they beat my team's butt every game this past summer. It was embarrassing. But so a lot of us knew of each other coming into it. Cabry's played for Connellsville, who actually knocked my high school team out of the WPIAL championship our senior year. So we had a little bitterness there. But I mean, we all knew of each other before coming here. So I think that really helped us with our bond a lot, because we have a lot of similar friends and things like that. So we all get along very well.
So you didn't win a WPIAL title as a senior, but you won a state title instead at Penn Trafford. What did that experience mean to you?
It meant a lot to me. I know whenever we did play, when we lost in the WPIAL, we were all devastated. That was already after we had graduated. So, I mean, we were kind of already into the summer leading into our freshman year of college, and I know definitely a lot of girls on the team were down, and we're like, we don't want to be practicing out in the hot summer days. We're out of school. It's going to be added on time that we weren't really looking forward to go to states, because we did have to play in a consolation game to make states, and even that consolation game we weren't too focused with it. But once we did make it, we had this slogan that we went by, that the comeback is always better than the setback. And so we kind of worked our butts off as much as we could to make it to those states. And as soon as we played that first game, we knew how bad we wanted it, and so we really just went for it. And I think that winning that state championship really gave me a lot of confidence coming into my freshman year of Carlow, especially because I got to play in the summer with my friends as well, and then winning that state championship and having all of that playing time before coming into the fall of my freshman year. A lot of the older girls are too old to play, and they don't get that experience in playing time before coming into the fall. So I feel I was really warm and ready to go whenever the fall season came around, and that's why I kind of performed pretty well.
Lastly, you alluded to your older sister, Emma. She is playing at Penn, which is a Division I school. How has she helped prepare you to the transition to the college game?
She's definitely helped prepare me because whenever she was in her freshman year at Penn, I saw how hard she worked with her academics and even with playing softball, and I saw how much work it truly was. And I think that's also kind of what led me to my decision to come to Carlow, because I didn't know if I would be able to handle all of that, because I knew how dedicated she was with everything she did, and just seeing her struggle with that some. But she definitely kept me grounded, and just seeing her play in college and some of like the struggles she had her freshman year, like that made me realize that it's a totally different game whenever you get to college. It's not like you're playing travel ball. It's not like you're playing in the high school setting and some of the pictures you see there. Like it's a whole different capacity and a whole nother level, and I think that really like grounded me to come to college and realize that I'm not going to skate by and I'm not going to have the stats that I did in high school, but I really am going to have to work hard, and I saw that from her.
Well, Morgan, thank you for doing this. We look forward to seeing you this season on the Diamond.
Thank you very much.
That's Morgan Nedley, the sophomore for the Celtics here on the season preview. We continue with the season preview for Celtics softball. Sean Meyers now joined by one of the seniors on the team, Liv Graff, a catcher. Thank you for doing this today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a long time since you've played softball for Carlow. Your last game last year was March 13th, and your first scheduled game this year is March 13th. It'll be 1 full year. So how have you handled the layoff a year away from the game?
It has been a big struggle being away for so long because we haven't been able to be together that often as a team. So everyone had their individual workouts they had to do over the summer that coach sent us. So we had our own things, but everyone had an idea of what they needed to work on individually because we only had so many games last season. So we knew exactly what it was, and it was hitting, obviously.
Well, you kind of answered the question, but the focus on hitting, what kind of drills did you do? What was sort of the techniques that you were working on improving?
So our team's really big on tee work. Our mechanics are like a huge thing that we focus on so that we can be better hitters. So over the summer, hopefully everyone else did their tee work, but that's what I worked on mostly because it's kind of hard to find a pitcher to throw to you live, and especially in the pandemic. So lots of different drills on the tee every single day.
What do you anticipate for your role on this team this year?
This year I see myself as a leader. Obviously as a captain I have a leadership perspective off the field, but on the field as a catcher we always have to be the loudest ones, making sure everyone knows where the play is supposed to be, what's going on the field. So I really feel like a lot of the girls listen to me and the things I have to say, and they trust my opinion from being a senior. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Last year's team had just one senior on it. This year, it's a much larger group that you're a part of. So how do you think that the experience and the leadership will pay off?
I think having this many seniors is really beneficial, especially because we didn't get to have a season last year because the majority of our team has not gotten to play a conference game. So having these seniors who have had that experience and can give that advice to the other girls, like, this is what to expect, this isn't high school softball anymore, I feel like that's very beneficial to us.
Is there a player or a couple players that you think could be poised for a breakout season?
Yeah, I really do think that Morgan Nedley is going to have a breakout season. She's just an all-around fantastic player. She hits well. You could throw her anywhere on the field and she'll make those plays. And a lot of the freshmen, honestly, every single one of them have amazed me so far, but specifically our transfer from Cal U, Clara. She's a really good pitcher. I caught her last week and I think her strike percentage was above 70%. So I really think she's going to have a breakout season as a starting pitcher for us.
What team goals do you have and what individual goals do you have for this upcoming season?
My goal for our team this year is to be able to communicate better and win when we can, but if we lose as a team and it's not individualized. I really like to look at it as like we are a team. It shouldn't matter what your stats were that game or my stats. It just matters at the end of the day what we did as a team on and off the field. My individual goals for myself, I definitely want to get my hitting up. I have never been that great of a hitter since I've been at Carlow. I just lost all that confidence, so I really want to be able to help my team out this year because that's a big area that we need to improve on.
What game or maybe a couple of games are you most looking forward to playing?
I really do get excited for our conference games, but specifically IUS, Rio, and Point Park because they are our biggest competition, and I feel like they make us work better to be better teams. It's hard when we play teams that are below average because I feel like we knock ourselves down to that level. So playing those teams that don't make the errors and they'll catch anything we hit, it really makes us strive to eliminate all those errors and be the best that we can be.
And you know a lot of the girls that play for Point Park as well, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Is it a friendly competition or is it pretty fierce?
Oh, it's gotten pretty fierce over the past few years. It does get really intense because we share the same home field and stuff, but I think at the end of the day it ends up being friendly, but on the field we don't even look at each other.
Your head coach, Glenn Zinsmeister, his third season guiding this program, what are some of his best qualities?
I really like Glenn because he doesn't just make it as this is softball and it's separate from everything else. He really kind of brings us in as a family, and anything any of us have needed. I know myself, I've struggled this semester with a few different things personally, and he could be that for you, a father, an uncle, a grandpa, whatever you need him to be, he's really there for you on and off the field.
Lastly, what's the best part of attending Carlow University?
The softball team. I really feel like my experience with the team has opened me up to a lot of different personalities, seeing people play different positions differently than I would, and I really just feel like I've gained a lot of close friends that I don't think I would have made if I wasn't on this team.
Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll look forward to seeing you this season.
Thank you.
That is Liv Graff, a senior for the Celtics here on the season preview.